On this episode of ResiWeek, Savant acquires Racepoint Energy, Nokia Smart Lighting, and reusable zip ties. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is ResiWeek, episode 286. Everyone needs a boombox.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Crestron.
Welcome to this episode of ResiWeek. This is your weekly roundup of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matty Scott for AVNation.tv, and this week we're pleased to be joined by two of my good friends. First, we have Mr. John Clancy. He is the VP of Residential for Crestron. How you doing, John?
I'm doing great. Hey, Matt.
Thank you for being here. Then we have, we're doing a New York show today. We have Todd Puma. He's the president of the Source Home Theater. Mr. Puma, how are you, sir?
Doing really well. Thank you for having me on, Matt. I really appreciate it. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing very good.
I'm
doing good. Dude, my accent is gone. I haven't been in New York in years, and my wife's only comes out when she's mad at me or drinking coffee. Or the kids, definitely not me. So yeah, I've lost my ability to kind of sound like I'm from sort of local-ish. I'm done.
Forget about it.
Forget about it, man. Forget about it. All right, gentlemen, just before we jump into the stories of the day, John, I wanted you to just mention for a minute, this is the first time we've had someone from Crestron on since the announcement, two weeks ago, that Randy is stepping down in the fall. What does that mean to you personally? I know you've worked with Randy for years, as well as just for the company, if you can, for a quick sec.
Sure. Look, I've known Randy close to 30 years. I was an integrator. We were one of Crestron's largest residential dealers, and we battled for many, many years. And that battle eventually led to me coming to work here. But I will say a couple of things. Look, I think Tim Albright's article in AVNation talked about an instance he had, and Randy's focus on, not letting anyone feel like they were left behind. I always thought we were special because we were one of their largest residential dealers. But to read Tim's version of that, when he reached out to everybody the same way, right? And I will say that when you step back and look at integrators, right, we're really service companies, right? Yes, we sell and resell products made by Crestron and other manufacturers, right? But for the most part, what integrators are really selling are the services, right? The products don't put themselves in. They do need service and support. And I think that focus by Crestron was something that I was personally blown away with when I first started here. In the first 2 weeks of me coming to work here, I was invited to a meeting that's literally held in a conference room right across my office. And it's held every Friday morning. There are representatives there from engineering, from product management, from customer support, from manufacturing, and I was invited because there was a case that came up over the last week, and this meeting is focused on looking at open cases. So it's run by our Tier 3 tech support, we call ATSG, but Randy is the primary, visitor or guest at this meeting, right? This is to present all open cases to the president and CEO of Crestron, right? And what are we doing about it, right? Is it a manufacturing issue? Is it a design or engineering problem? Do we need to rewrite firmware? And to be honest, that was one of the most impressive things I had seen him, just coming to a big company like this and that focus towards, customer experience with our products. That's that same meeting. Randy, John, I need you to call this dentist in Chicago. He's not having a great experience, and work with, ATSG to get this resolved. But that was something I've witnessed every week I've been here in the last 5.5 years, and it's amazing. Amazing to see at a company this size that he is involved like that. And so that's just one of the things that I was not just blown away with, but that was, I'd say one of the things that I learned and will continue to focus on after Randy's, retired. At least the business unit that's under my purview is continuing that. That is super important, that the end users who buy our products have the best possible experience. And when it comes to us, we'll respond and take care of them. And that's just, I keep saying this to a number of people around here that, I've learned more in the last 5 years than I did in the first 25 years of being in this business, just by absorbing and watching things like that around my boss.
Yeah, that's a huge legacy to leave, that dedication to customer support. That's awesome. All right, gentlemen, let's kick this off with a story that comes to us from CE Pro. Savant has officially acquired Racepoint Energy and renamed it as Savant Power. If you don't know, Racepoint is kind of sort of a sister company. It was started by Bob Madonna, who is now back running as chairman and CEO of Savant after a brief break there. Read through the article. It covers a couple of cool things in Savant's Power's approach to smart energy, etc. Todd, when you see this, when you see Savant acquiring this and really pushing what Racepoint Energy can do and the feature set it brings to that customer base, not that people didn't know Racepoint Energy or Sonnen or any of the other companies that are in this space, but Savant's a big name, and by putting that name Power behind Racepoint Energy and now Savant Power, does that bring this power management, power storage conversation to the forefront of the integration world, or are we still a ways off from that?
Well, based on where Savant is going, many years ago, before the pandemic, I saw them at CEDIA, and I watched about their power management with, I believe it was Troy was helping assist them at this point. I forget their company's name, so I apologize about that. But they were always ahead of the curve with that end of things. They brought awareness to me. I wasn't aware of or requested ever to have anything be power managed in the home and to kind of work with the different storage and how the house is utilizing the power throughout different transformers and transitions, whatever it may be. And I'm thankful that they brought that to me. But the request has still not been brought to my table on utilizing this. And I'm in New York City. So you figure we're going to work with the one percenters and they're going to be requesting things based upon that, probably a lot quicker than it would be out south at this point. With that being said, am I going to keep an eye on this? Absolutely. Is it going to be something that I believe we're going to be getting requested in the next 3 years or so? I would talk to John Clancy, because whatever he says, that's what I'll be doing.
That's great. John, you and I were kind of talking about this a little bit ahead of the show. What is it going to take for power management, and that's not the right term to be. We should be using power storage, microgridding, all of that really fun stuff. If you don't know what microgridding is, look it up. It's mind-blowing. But what is it going to take for this to become even kind of a standard vertical within the residential integration space? Because there are really, like, Racepoint's doing really cool stuff, Rosewater's doing cool stuff, Sonnen's doing cool stuff, but it's still such a niche market. What's it going to take for this to become forefront?
Well, I think the company that Todd was referring to before was Pantech or Adapt Energy, right?
Yes.
And they do some amazing things with our products and companies like Sonnen and others, right? But I guess to your point, I think that the unfortunate thing is I think that it's going to take some bad experiences for people to want to spend money in this way, right? Where they lose power, can't get their generators, can't get fuel for generators, whatever the problem is, I think would then potentially grow demand. I think the other side of that is just the overall awareness. I don't think a lot of people even know that these are possible. I think they think backup generator, good enough. Do I really need to store power? Do I need multiple sources of power source of just power generation on site, whether it's cogen or wind or solar or all of the above? I think it's a combination of just awareness, and then even when there's awareness, does the cost, is there value there, right? And getting the end user to understand that this is something that they really need.
Is it something where, because again, we just a couple months ago saw the gas shortages in the the southeast, where like nothing was available, and there were power issues in general, and there were storms and all of those things combined. This can be at the forefront of that conversation. But my takeaway has always been it's there when it happens, but the second that the gas pumps turn back on, it's like, oh yeah, no biggie. We didn't have anywhere to go.
And again, one of the things we pointed out earlier was, most of our end users, right? This is one of multiple homes, right? They can always go someplace else, right? So that's one option. But secondarily, and I hate to say it like that, but it really comes down to, the fact that one instance in the Southeast last month or the month before was due to a cyber attack, right? That shut down a pipeline that caused problems, right? I think we're just starting to see instances like that. So who knows what the future holds? So I do believe that that idea of cogen or having multiple power sources on your property and being able to manage that nicely and be able to prepare for an upcoming storm or a situation like that and store power and not have to worry about fuel sources and things like that. It does definitely make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I agree there. All right, gentlemen, let's move on to our next story of the day. This comes to us from Residential Systems. Nokia and Smartlabs launch Nokia Smart Lighting. It's a lighting device system that stays connected using dual mesh network for increased reliability. I'm going to put a minor footnote before we get too far. I say dual mesh because that's what's in the article. It's not really mesh in the typical mesh terms that anyone has ever used mesh before. It's RF and some power line technology is what they're using for their quote unquote dual mesh. Just before you get too excited about, mesh Wi-Fi and, the normal things that mesh are using. John, let me start with you on this one. This is the best baked smart home DIY lighting device platform I think I've ever seen. It looks the best. It seems to make the most sense in the way in which they're running it. It is traditional RF. They're using power line, which is for light switches not a bad idea. They're not using Wi-Fi, which I love because I hate Wi-Fi for light switches, but it just looks really good. It won a Red Dot Award in 2021 for design. Like, this looks like something that I would actually want to sell. What is it going to take for this type of product, which, is designed for that DIY, that big box, Amazon market? But I kind of want it. What's it going to take for this to sell?
So I will agree that it's probably the nicest looking DIY light switch out there, and the price point is spot on where it needs to be for that market, right? I think DIY is as again, you can go back and forth. Yes, there are people out there who will install a dozen of these in their home, right? No doubt, right? But I think the biggest challenge for a lot of these companies who start off focused purely on DIY is that they forget our channel, right? The custom integrator is generally the person who's going to be called upon by a homeowner, someone building a home, to put these in, right? Now, maybe an electrician, but for the most part, you can't ignore the value of the integration channel. I mean, that's really where this all starts. And I think, just focusing just on DIY may just be a bit of a challenge for them to get some traction with. I do agree it's definitely the prettiest DIY light switch I've seen, and by far, based on everything I've read, it looks like a solid technology.
What I find interesting is we've been talking with Oro a little bit. We had some of the people from Oro on a couple of weeks ago, and same thing. They started DIY and then they kind of pivoted and went to the CI channel, and they're seeing that as their direct route to market. That makes an effective sense for them. Maybe we'll see that with this. Todd, when you see this, when you see especially the price point, like I think it starts at $40 a dimmer or a switch. $40 to $60 US per device. That is vastly different than the lighting control you sell, the lighting control I sell. Does this have potential to be that product that gets lighting control into the mainstream beyond like Philips Hue? Does this have that potential?
Yes, I think that's a great question, Matt. And what it comes down to is everybody needs their boombox, right? Everybody starts somewhere, and then they realize as they get older, they don't have the time to do what they necessarily had to do when they were younger, right? When you're younger, you're just starting out, getting an apartment. You want to have the coolest and latest things, and also your pockets aren't ready for, the great integration that Crestron, Lutron, and other integration firms offer. So what this is going to do is build that awareness, and it's going to help them to get in our pockets later on in the future. Or possibly even better is have other gens get into this. Because what it comes down to is with our customers, they always say one thing is when they start as the younger youths is, hey, I had Philips Hue. I liked it, but it can't integrate everything. Mm-hmm. Same thing with HomeKit. I love HomeKit, but when something doesn't work, then I feel like everything doesn't work. That's when it comes into the conversation that we have with them, and they're always going to need us. Everyone always needs a painter. Anyone could paint, but do they paint as clean as a professional? Anyone could put in a light switch, but do they really want to get zapped 1,000 times to do it the right way? And the same thing goes for here. Thank you for building awareness to us. Thank you for setting up the bar for something prettier and a little bit, more attractive, because that's what Apple does. That's what Nest did. And other manufacturers, like even Eero at this point, has done for us, is they brought the attractiveness into the marketplace, and has helped us to have conversations on what we can offer and what our services can offer to custom tailor that suit to their bodies, right? As they grow, we could bring out the suit. As they get skinnier and more muscular, we could bring in the suit. Whatever it may be, is we're able to do that. These firms that are coming out now are just the beginning. It's just a starting point to bring them to Crestron Home and to Lutron.
Yeah. Is there validity in this product being as Smartlabs is behind Insteon as well? Like this isn't just an internet startup that went, hey, look, we can do a Wi-Fi light switch. Obviously it's not Wi-Fi, but does that bring more validity to the product?
Yeah, look, obviously they've already developed some integration. It's a name many people know. I believe their biggest channel is security, right? Security vendors mostly sell Insteon products, right? So again, it's another avenue, but I think if they're hoping that just the DIY market is going to make this thing explode, I think it's really around whoever's installing it and supporting it, right? Or that's where I think Todd was leaning.
Yeah, very good. All right, gentlemen, let's wrap this up with arguably the best story of the day. I am so excited for this. Mitchell was questioning his validity of this story when he sent it to us, but I think the three of us agree this is by far the best story of the day. From CE Pro, the world's first releasable zip tie that actually works. I don't know how to say the name of this. Retzel, maybe? Retzi? Something? Nothing? The New Yorkers are not helping me at all with this.
Retief, maybe?
Maybe? Something?
I don't know.
It's a cool zip tie.
It is a really cool zip tie.
Like
it is a patent, I'm assuming patent pending design that was designed for the aerospace industry. Essentially, use your zip tie, give a little push on the lever, and it will automatically release. Todd, does this get you excited in ways cable management always dreamed it could?
Well, I have to say, when I saw the story, I actually got really excited, and I think most integrators would, because as John kind of touched it to earlier, as alluded to, is the scratches on your arms, your hands that get put into place. And also, you know what? If you want to add something in, what do? You got to cut up that beautiful design that you put together. It's like artwork. You sit there, you look at your artwork, you're like, wow, I did a great job. And then suddenly you're like, uh-oh, I forgot to put in a cable. Then clip, 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 clip. And what happens? It winds up looking like spaghetti. Then you got to start all over again. Yep. With this, unclip it like Velcro and just keep on going. Put in the wire, and look at that. Boom! Magic. So customers all excited with me.
So why not just use Velcro?
We're not talking about Velcro here. I want stability. I want to be,
This is a zip tie conversation, Matt. Pay attention.
Yeah. This is real stuff here.
Is that why you got the sleeves to hide the scars? That's why you got the sleeves.
I did.
Makes more sense now.
It was embarrassing after a while. John wears a lot of dress shirts, so he can cover his.
Well, that's what I do too. I usually I roll them down.
Yeah, I figured a way around it,
I like your thinking. John, we're kind of kidding, but at the same time, I'm kind of excited about this. The application for me is any place where I'm not going to cut that tail off that zip tie.
Well, yeah, exactly. As long as you don't cut the end off and get those scars that Todd was talking about, that's number one. But again, what project is ever done, especially these days, right? So, you want to be able to go back and upgrade your customers without having to tear everything apart. And yes, Velcro works, but that gets a little messy at times. Mm-hmm. This is like a really good solution. I am willing to bet that law enforcement will not be using these types of.
Ooh. I'm sure we could petition a couple that this is safer and more humane. Again, we're kind of kidding, but this does look pretty amazing. I'm kind of intrigued to play with it. The person I'm sure is not going to go for it is our friend Mosey, because he zips and pulls tight and he clips all that stuff. His stuff looks great. All right, gentlemen, let's wrap it there. Thank you both so much for joining us. Todd, if people want to connect with you, learn more about the Source Home Theater, where can they do that?
You can connect with me on Twitter at Todd Anthony Puma, or you can connect with me directly at todd@thesourcehometheater.com.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Clancy, thank you for joining us. If people want to connect with you, learn more about Crestron, where can they do that?
jclancy@crestron.com, or easily found on LinkedIn.
Excellent. Thank you both again for joining us. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on Twitter at Matt D. Scott and pretty much every other social platform. But more importantly, please visit AVNation.tv, where you'll find this show as well as a wide variety of our other shows with all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check out our supporters. We are extremely thankful for their support and ask that you check them out as well. Thanks again for watching. That's all the time we have for this episode of ResiWeek.